Beverly Sharpman is considered endangered missing and has been missing since September 11th, 1947, and was last seen in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her date of birth is December 10th, 1930, and if she is still alive out there today, she would be 87 years old. At the time of her disappearance, she was 17. She was white, female, at the time 5'3", 135 pounds, with brown, long, wavy hair, brown eyes, and sometimes went by the nickname Babe. Any distinguishing marks or features are unknown, as well as dentals and fingerprints not available. However, there are DNA samples available for the case. She was last seen wearing a gray or brown suit or dress, brown and black shoes, and flush-colored stockings. She was wearing earrings when last seen, and it is unknown what other additional personal items she had on with her. Beverly was last reported seen at a train station with a suitcase and sent her parents a telegram telling them she was leaving home to marry and not to worry. She was never heard from again. On September 10th, 1947, Beverly told her mother she had something to tell her. Beverly seemed troubled. Her mother later told police that she went to make tea and did not pressure her daughter to reveal her secret, and Beverly, apparently reconsidering, later went to bed without confiding her concerns. The next day, she disappeared, leaving her parents and brother agonizing over what could have driven the teen away. Police labeled Beverly a runaway, although she'd gone to Overbrook High School to register for her senior year the day she disappeared. She was last seen carrying a suitcase at the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Station at 24th and Chestnut Streets. Her parents received a telegram that night saying, "Got married, leaving town, will not be back, don't worry, Babe." Beverly had no boyfriends, and her friends told police and relatives that they know of no men in her life, nor of anyone with whom she might have eloped. Police found that Beverly had taken $173 from her savings account, resigned her clerk job at a downtown firm the day before she vanished, and told co-workers she was going to Chicago. Although she seemed to have left willingly, police still searched for her. Detectives checked marriage license bureaus in all 50 states but found no evidence that Beverly had married, and although the Sharpmans had family in Chicago, those relatives reported they hadn't seen or heard from Beverly. If you have any information about this case, you are asked to contact the Philadelphia Police Department, Detective Valerie Miller Robinson, at 209-937-8377. That's 209-937-8377. Lorraine Judith Chance is considered endangered missing and has been missing since January 3rd, 1948. She was last seen in Sacramento, Sacramento County, California. Her date of birth is assumed to be in 1922, which, if that is the case, and if she is still alive today, would make her 95 years old. At the time of her disappearance, she was 26 years old. She is a white female, in between 4'11" and 5 foot tall, 90 to 110 pounds, with dark brown/black hair, brown eyes, and sometimes went by the names Lee and Lorraine Berry. Lorraine had very wavy and curly hair and an olive complexion. There are no dental records or fingerprint records available for the case, and yet even though there were DNA samples submitted, the tests have not yet been completed. It was unknown what clothing or what jewelry she had on her at the time, though she is believed to have been wearing high heels, as that's what she usually wore, and she was a size 3.5 shoe. Lorraine dropped off daughter Donna Lee at babysitter's residence on January 3rd, 1948, and said she would be back that night. Lorraine was never heard from again. The babysitter was Mrs. L.F., or L.T. Thompson, at her home at RT2, Box 397G, or 397J in Santa Cruz, California. Lorraine married Calvin Chance, who went by the name Bud, on December 23, 1944, in New York City, and gave birth to their only child, Donna, around the same time. Bud's naval career moved the family to California, but he died in a dry dock accident in Portsmouth, Virginia, on November 8, 1947. According to her daughter, Ms. Chance applied for her husband's death benefits in March of 1948 and was awarded benefits in August of the same year. However, Lorraine moved and did not leave a forwarding address. She never collected the checks. They were returned to the Veterans Administration Welfare and Dependents Division. The previous address where the Chances lived in Sacramento was 183112 S Street. If you have any information on the case, you are asked to contact Deputy Paige Keeland at the Sacramento Police Department, number 916-808-0643. That's Deputy Paige Keeland at the Sacramento Police Department, phone number 916-808-0643. Virginia Carpenter has been missing since June 1st, 1948, and was last seen in Denton County, Texas, and is considered endangered missing. Her date of birth is believed to be around 1927, which, if that is true, and if she is still alive today, it would make her about 90 years old. Though she was 21 at the time she disappeared, she's 5'3", 120 pounds, she's a white female with long brown hair, brown eyes, and she was believed to have been wearing a striped chambray dress, a white hat, and red platform shoes, and also had a bag on her at the time of her disappearance. Carpenter was last seen in Denton, Texas on June 1st, 1948. She left her home in Texarkana, Texas, and took a train to Denton. She got off the train in Denton and took a taxi to the campus of what is now the Texas Women's University. She stepped out of the cab in front of Breckenridge Hall at the Texas State College for Women a little after 2100. She gave the cab driver a ticket for her trunk and $1 to fetch it, and the next day from the train station, she walked over to two young men she appeared to know. "Well, hi, what are you doing here?" she asked them. The cab driver then drove away. The cab driver delivered Carpenter's trunk the next morning. It sat on the porch for days. In 1948, police questioned Miss Carpenter's boyfriend for 12 hours the first time around and interviewed him more than a dozen times after that. He also passed a polygraph test. Police searched the cab driver, looking for scratches or bruises. They grilled the cabbie numerous times. He was 45, with little education and a reputation for physical abuse. According to reports in the Denton police files, the cabbie was a bootlegger, part-time mechanic, and an automobile trader. In 1957, his wife, who was married to someone else by then, told Midland police she had lied when she said he was home that night by 2200. Actually, according to the police files, she said he'd come home at 2 or 3 a.m. the next morning, and each year on June 1st, when the Denton Record Chronicle released the Unsolved case, he traveled from Midland to Denton and brought a paper. His wife told the officers he was never charged. The year before her disappearance, 5 Texarkana teens were murdered by a person who has never been identified. The press dubbed him the Phantom Killer. Miss Carpenter and her family were friends with 3 of the 5 victims. In May of 1998, police were given a tip by a man in his 70s who claimed to know who killed Ms. Carpenter and where she was buried. Police said the informant was close to some of the people who were allegedly involved in Ms. Carpenter's disappearance. The sheriff said the 2 suspects in the murder are now dead. If you have any information concerning this case, please contact the Denton County Sheriff's Office at 940-349-1600. That's 940-349-1600. Bertha Marie Tidd Newell has been missing since July 13, 1948, and was last seen in Zanesville, Ohio, and is considered endangered missing. Her date of birth is September 26, 1907, and was 40 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was believed to have been between 5'8" and 5'10", and anywhere between 125 and 145 pounds. She was a white female with dark brown hair and dark brown eyes, and she had a scar on her head just behind her crown. She was last seen wearing a brown tweed dress and high heels, and sometimes went by the names Bertha Marie Tidd, Marie Newell, and Mary Tidd. On July 13, 1948, she told her family she was going to the grocery store. She never returned and has never been seen again. She didn't take her purse or any other personal belongings. After her disappearance, there were numerous stories circulating that she ran away to join a traveling circus, that her husband may have been murdered, and a possibility she was in a nursing home in Woodfield. None of these were substantiated. In 1956, there was a report that she had been seen in a town north of Zanesville. After some investigation, the police reached a dead end. There have been no real leads since, and Newell is no longer on file with the Zanesville Police Department. She had given birth to 10 children. Since she is no longer on file with the police department, there is no known phone number you can call if you have information about this case, and given the fact she was born in 1907 would make her 110 if still alive. While very tragic and still very unfortunate, we can assume that this case will forever remain unsolved.